Hey, beautiful souls, welcome back to the Healing Empath. I am a healing empath, and today's topic is going to be about love bombing and how an unhealthy or unhealed empath ends up love bombing themselves, right? So this is going to be an interesting topic, but I think it's very important that I touch on this. And again, in most of my videos, there's so many layers to touch on, so I'm going to try to keep this video short as possible, but in the future I will be expanding on pretty much every topic I've ever recorded. But before we get into today's topic, you know what to do. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't yet, and don't forget to hit those notifications so when I upload a video every Tuesday, you'll be able to get notified, and you'll be able to see and listen to the next video. Okay, so let's get into it. Have you ever noticed that before someone ever chooses you, right, in a relationship, you've already chosen a future with them? So let me explain. This might not be for everybody. Again, this is for unhealed, unhealthy empaths. If you are an empath and you are healed and you have your boundaries and you stick by your rules of engagement with others and how people, connect with you, and you have control over those things, and you don't get into repetitive cycles of terrible relationships or family relationships, work situations, then you know that you're empathic and you're an empath, then you probably are a healed empath or just a healthy empath in general. So before I get into the main topic, let me explain. A healed empath is someone that I'm inspiring to be, because at this moment I'm an inspiring healed empath, but I consider myself a unhealed empath, working towards being healed, right? But if you are a healthy empath, 9 times out of 10, you were raised and had a great support system growing up, or space for you to, to express your emotions, and you were taught how to create boundaries and those things, right? And you exercise them well. So again, that's just for those that are coming in, and you might identify as an empath, but you might not identify what I'm talking about. So just to break it down, empaths have many layers. It's not just, oh, you're an empath. Being an empath doesn't mean being beat up on or walked on or abused, okay? That's when you consider yourself an unhealthy / unhealed empath. All right, and if you want more context, go into my video. There's a video I posted a while back, a few months ago. It is the healthy empath versus the unhealthy empath. Okay, so let's get into it. So before you get into a relationship, if someone shows interest in you, before they show up, right? An unhealed empath may identify before they even show any consistency, before they show emotional availability, and before they even show up fully, you are already asking yourself, well, will he be the one, right? And for many unhealed or unhealthy empaths, love doesn't start with connection. It starts in your mind with kind of like a movie scene, like Cinderella. All the childhood movies I grew up on, I can definitely relate to this. And the imagination that I wanted, and I guess as a young girl, you envision how your love life will be when you're an older person, like when you're old enough to date. Okay, so that brings me to say the childhood fantasy. Okay, an unhealthy empath, they often fall in love with the way that you learn as a child, like a movie. And this is not just for females, this is also for men too, however you identify, right? Like a movie, or like a fairy tale, or like one person will finally come and complete your story that you created in your head. So when you get a crush, right? the crush, you might get a crush and you don't just like the crush, right? Sometimes it comes off as projection, right? So what we can end up doing is imagining, which is normal. So I don't want you to think that imagining is wrong. But as I said, if there isn't an emotional availability yet or a full connection, then projection turns into the imagination. Okay, and then it starts to say, like, what would their life look like together? How healed she'll finally feel, or he'll finally feel with this connection. How safe you'll feel because you don't feel alone, right? And how loved you'll become once you're in this connection. And not because it has nothing to do with the person, because this person has showed some of these great qualities, but this has everything to do with what was created in the mind that needs to be confirmed, because the unhealthy empath needs the story to be true, needs to have that alignment. And that at that point is where the self-love bombing begins. I hope this is making sense. Okay, I also take notes, so if you hear any pages moving, that's just my note taking. Okay, so what does self-love bombing look like to an unhealthy empath, right? So if you're wondering, an unhealthy empath or unhealed empath or both, right, doesn't wait for the facts and evidence, right? She creates meaning too quickly. So she creates the meaning too quickly. Okay, so for example, if there is a text back, right? You got the phone number, there's a text back. Okay, you understand that the communication is there, right? It's a response. Oh, okay, he's different. Something new, something different, right? Or if he or she opens up a little, right? You might think, not everybody might think this. Let's be clear. You might think we have a deep connection, or there's something there, there's something different. There's something there, right? Or if he shows basic, or if she shows basic kindness, then you would start to think, well, they understand me, like maybe my last situation didn't understand me, right? Because they're showing basic kindness and openness. Or there's a trigger that happens between either the male or the female, where you're a trigger, where the trigger happens when your abandonment wound has been awakened, right? So this might feel intense, like an intense love, right? And for both male or woman, instead of really asking, is this person consistent? Is this person emotionally safe? Do their actions match their words? You may ask, could this be my person? And then that question alone already creates an attachment. Could this be? Like, think about, just say it to yourself, could this be my person? You're already attaching yourself to that energy, right? And maybe this is like I feel like, some of these things that I just said can also happen even if you're not love bombing yourself. So you would have to know your situation. This is case by case, I would say, right? But for me, I definitely identify with it. Not by every point here is not me every single point, but I've identified with something. Like, for example, could this be my person, right? I've definitely identified with that. And that creates that lover girl energy, or that lover boy energy, which I always say I consider myself a lover girl. Okay, and let's be clear, there's nothing wrong with being a lover girl, and there's nothing wrong with being a lover boy. Okay, so romantic energy and intimacy is beautiful. Feeling deep and connected is not a flaw. And that's not the problem. The problem isn't love or romance or intimacy or feeling deeply. The problem is the fantasy attachment. That whole, could this be my person, instead of dealing with the facts, right? So when love is rooted in the imagination instead of the reality, the empath bonds, or the unhealthy empath bonds to who they hope the person is, not who they actually are. So are you catching my drift? Where a lot of women, even men do it too, it's just not as spoken about, where they fall for the potential versus the facts, right? Because, oh, this person is always really nice, or they're kind, or, they usually always respond. And that really isn't the facts of who the person is if they're for you, right? And that creates what? Those rose-colored lenses that we often wear in love. Not just love, relationships, family relationships, co-worker, work relationships. Sometimes we just put these rose-colored glasses on, right? And for an unhealthy empath, it's often that we wear rose-colored glasses, right? Because we end up seeing the potential instead of the patterns, the words instead of the behavior, and apologies instead of change. And also chemistry instead of compatibility. Okay? That's that intense chemistry that you think is very positive, but really it could also be a warning sign that your body's noticing that you're not yet. And then, now, if there is any red flags, most likely there probably are. We already know. But in the back of our mind, we say, well, nobody's perfect, or she's just wounded, or he's just wounded, or she's just scared, right? Or he's just scared. Oh, he's scared of committing, so he pulled back. And really, that's just a red flag, because then where does that leave you, right? And then you think to yourself, well, when they feel safe, they'll change, right? But what the issue with that is that love is not, or just any relationship is not a healing project for you. It's not your job to fix, right? It's not your job to heal anyone, right? You're not meant to fall in love with someone in their future self, or who you think that they can be, So you have to be very careful with that. And it's a very slippery slope, because things like this happen all the time, and when we aren't paying attention, it can happen even with me telling you this, even with you playing this video today, listening to it, and then maybe a month from now, it's something that you might do again, because you haven't exercised on, or you haven't even agreed to if there is an issue, but you understand the point, right? So, okay, let's keep moving forward. So here's some more examples of an unhealthy attachment. So you may feel anxiety instead of peace, but you call it excitement, right? Anxiety. Sometimes there's also this theory like butterflies. When you meet someone having butterflies is also a red flag. And there's a feeling that you may meet with someone and you're like, oh, okay. But then there's a feeling where you feel calm and safe around someone. And then there's a feeling where you feel anxious, nervous, or just very, like the butterflies. You know what I mean? It just feels like too intense, too much of a draw. Those usually are the red flags, but we mistake it for chemistry. And, here's another one. You overthink every interaction. So every interaction you may think, oh, is this going to turn into something more than what it actually is, right? You feel emotionally invested before commitment exists. That's another one. Let's say that again. You feel emotionally invested before the commitment exists. And then you end up ignoring your intuition because the fantasy, right? That word fantasy feels better. Fantasy feels better. You attach faster when someone is emotionally unavailable. Has anybody ever attached to someone that they view as emotionally unavailable? How many women? I mean, you can go on Reddit. You can probably ask one of your friends or family members or just people that you know that have attached to a man, or a man attaching to a woman that ends up being emotionally unavailable. They'll be available in the beginning, but then they go cold. And then, again, we try to figure out, well, what happened, you know? That's really one of the things that I've also experienced in the past too. And it's really not love. It's not love. It's your inner child trying to finally feel what? Chosen. Finally feel chosen. And the lesson for the healing empath is that a healing empath will learn this truth, right? That love does not rush. Compatibility doesn't rush. None of those things rush. Intimacy doesn't rush. Love, intimacy, compatibility does not confuse you. So if there's any confusion, you know, if there's any rush, there's no need to rush. There's no need to feel confused, right? Love does not require you to abandon yourself, okay? You don't stop being romantic when you stop rushing and you stop allowing yourself to be confused. It doesn't mean that you're going to stop the romance, okay? It doesn't mean that you're going to stop dreaming. Hold on. Sorry, I thought something stopped in my recording. It doesn't mean that you're going to stop being romantic, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to stop dreaming. It's just going to mean that you're simply going to learn how to observe instead of assume. So observe and assess the situation. Slow down instead of attach. So slow down. And feel without fantasizing. So, you know, you may meet someone. He may be someone you met on your trip, a cruise or something like that, right? And now all of a sudden you're fantasizing about things that have not shown proof yet. So just relax and let the moment happen, okay? Also, let actions instead of words tell the story. So let the actions of the person tell the story, not what they say. Okay, so I can go on and on and on about this topic. It's almost a little embarrassing, especially when you're an adult, because these things you think that someone is supposed to know. A lot of people do not know. We have to give people grace. If people were not taught, if you were around a certain type, you know, family members, and this is their conditioning, or friendships, and this is some of their conditioning as well, how will you ever know unless you look for an outreach of wisdom somewhere, right? Or you'll learn from having these mistakes, and then maybe you'll pick up a book, or you might speak to someone or see a video where someone experienced the same thing that you've experienced, right? So we need to give grace. It doesn't matter if you're an adult or if you're a young woman growing up. It's better if you're young, so you can, catch these things ahead of time, especially if you are an unhealed or unhealthy empath that maybe not have been chosen well as a small child, whatever your circumstance could have been. So everything is just like just full of anxiety and worry of connection, because in your heart you only want to love, and that's nothing wrong with that. In your heart you want the romance, you want the fairy tale, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just something that has to be adjusted and corrected so you don't disappoint and love bomb yourself. Okay, so I made the video as short as I can, guys. I am going to expand on this topic, but if you have any questions or you want to add to my point, you can drop that in the comment section below. But to close out, I just want to say, all my unhealed and unhealthy empaths, just take off those rose-colored lenses. Take off the glasses, okay? It's not to become cold. It's not to become guarded, but it's to become grounded. It's to become secure and confident, okay? You don't need to imagine love to feel worthy of it. You don't need a fantasy to feel whole. You can place all that within yourself and attract what you're destined to attract. And you don't need to love bomb yourself to be lovable, right? Because healthy love meets you in the real world. It meets you in reality, not in a movie scene, not behind the scenes, not in a spiritual world and meet you front and center. Okay? So this is the work of us as unhealed empaths working towards being a healed empath or a healing empath, right? Again, for those of you that don't know that empath, that don't realize that empath can be, a full empath can be unhealthy or unhealed, then I really encourage you to just go back and listen to a few of my videos so you can get some context on it. And again, I'm open to communication, so you can always drop a comment from your experience, or anyone else that maybe can get some wisdom behind what I convey here. And don't forget to share the video if you feel compelled to, and like this video, and I hope to see you on the next one. And until then, my beautiful souls, you have a wonderful day and night whenever you watch this or listen to this video, and I'll catch you next time. Ciao.